So, good morning, good day, and here we are. Here you are, in your place. And the idea is to kind of be definitively, clearly in the here that you are. Meditation is to rest here, established here, now. And in that this week has been the week of touching into the role of imagination in meditation. One of the similes the Buddha uses for the state of clarity that gives rise to awakening, or that kind of represents maybe awakening, is that of a clear, very clear lake. Here in the mountains in California, there are some very clear alpine lakes where you can look down into the water quite far and see clearly what's on the bottom. And so a very clear lake, and a person who stands on the edge of that lake, the Buddha says, can look into that lake and see the fish swimming around, can see the pebbles, the little shellfish that might be there. And each thing stands out distinctly, but each thing is kind of swimming or existing in this context, this domain, this space of clear water. And the water is often a symbol for awakening, or not awakening, but the mind, for awareness. And so the awareness that becomes clear. And so clear, like this clear mountain lake in which all things can be seen. But the idea of standing on the edge of the lake looking in at the fish and the little rocks, the person who's looking is not interfering with anything, is not being for and against anything particularly, just letting each thing be independent and free. And I love this idea because there's such a strong emphasis or strong tendency for people to look at Buddhist practice, their own experience in meditation, through the lens of me, myself, and mine. My experience, what I have to do, and all this. And so then, the idea is, and then liberation means I will become liberated. Look at me, I'm liberated, I'm free. Another way of understanding it, which is just as valid, is that as we become free, we are liberating everything else from us. And that way, liberation, awakening is a gift we give to everything, where everything has become free of our attachment, our clinging, our expectations, our judgments, all the stuff that we put on top of it. And so this standing on the lake, edge of the lake, and looking in the clear water, the fish, the rocks, the shellfish, whatever's there, is allowed to be there. It's free of our entanglement, our trying to grab it or do something with it. So that kind of clarity of mind that allows each thing, gives each thing its freedom, its independence. Every experience in meditation has its permission to be there, provided it's seen in clarity. And so that's the kind of the key thing, recognized clearly. So it's possible to be very foggy in one's mind, confused, but that can be known clearly. I'm foggy. This is fogginess. Fogginess is known. This is chaos, confusion. Chaos is known. Confusion is recognized. And so that's kind of the vision, the imaginational vision that the Buddha is giving of where we're going with mindfulness practice. And it's not so much an experience of bliss and joy and happiness, which is the subject right now in the series of Anapanasati, but rather it's clarity. So with that as a background image for this meditation, to assume a meditation posture and to gently close your eyes. And taking a deep breath in and a long exhale. And exhale that you relax your body as if you're draining out all the mud in the lake, as if there's a little outlet to the edge of the lake where the mud can just drain away. So as you relax your shoulders, let the tension drain away. As you soften your belly on the exhale, the tensions of your belly drain away. Whatever tension you can easily let go of or relax, let it drain away so you have room within for clarity, for seeing, as if you're making your body a receptacle for clear, kind of an empty receptacle, empty of tension. So it can be the abode of clarity. Letting your breathing return to normal. And taking a few moments as you exhale to drain away the tensions or pressures in your mind, the area of your brain. Any tension in the forehead or in the temples. Even any little bit of contraction that has a location for awareness. It's okay to have a location, but the contraction associated with it is not necessary. As you exhale, let it drain away. And then to settle in here more fully in the body. entering into your body. Regardless of how much comfort or discomfort you have in your body, from the inside out, imagine that your body is the Buddha's body. Certainly you're having a lot of experiences that he had when he meditated. Certainly not all of them, but the basic physical experience of the body from the inside out. Your Buddha body. To settle in, be present here. And within this body, to become aware of your breathing. Regardless how you're breathing, the Buddha certainly breathed like you at some point or other. Some of the same sensations you're experiencing, the Buddha felt from within. Here you are, your Buddha body, breathing in and breathing out. And then searching around in your mind or in your awareness to find where and how can your awareness, your mindfulness of breathing, have some degree of clarity. The clarity of standing on the edge of a lake, looking in. Without interfering with anything, allowing things to be as they are. Each thing in its simplicity. Nothing to do, nothing to change, except have clear seeing of the body breathing, and whatever else arises that's compelling. Clear seeing, clear knowing, this is happening. This is what is recognized. With each in-breath and each out-breath, the mud in the lake settle, and gradually there's more clarity. About what's happening in the moment, here and now, breathing. Breathing in a vast expanse of awareness. When we can let go of our preoccupations, it's kind of like emptying the lake of debris and mud. And it makes us a vesicle for clarity, kind of like it helps us become gloriously empty, spacious, open. And then where there's space and openness for there to be well-being, there's then room for gladness, joy, delight, happiness. When the mind is crowded and claustrophobic with anxiety and thoughts and concerns, there's no room for well-being and joy. Letting your tensions and preoccupations drain away and give room for whatever well-being is here for you now. And with whatever embodiment that's available for you, feel the embodiment of well-being in whatever way it is for you, however small. The embodiment of contentment, stillness, calm, and breathe with the well-being, as if the well-being shows the mind that it's okay to relax and dwell in clarity, clearly recognizing here. And then as we come to the end of the sitting, to open and extend your well-being in your consideration, contemplation of the world around you, the people you know about, and the many people you don't. And to sit here for a little few seconds as if you can share your well-being with them. However small it might be, as if you're a little bit like a heater that's spreading its heat outwards to the world around it. So if you can sit content in your well-being and open it to the world, imagine that you're warming up the world with well-being. And consider how wonderful it would be if in fact your well-being, in one way or other, known or unknown, could reach and touch all the beings of this world. May it be that the practice of meditation this day is a condition for bringing welfare and happiness to beings everywhere. May the goodness and merit of this practice be dedicated to the happiness, well-being, joy, peace, and freedom of all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. So this has been a week of emphasizing the role of imagination in Buddhist practice. And it's not something that I'm making up by my own. That the Buddha himself, in one way or the other, in a variety of ways, used imagination and evoked the imaginary powers of people when they engaged in this practice. And as the practice deepens, there is born a capacity for particular capacity for imagination, which in English we could call maybe vision, and to have a vision of a possibility. And it's a vision that can seem very clear and tangible and immediate, and maybe it even is in a certain kind of way. It's not something which is physically tangible or physically seen, but with the mind's eye, in Buddhism, awakening is opening the eye of the Dharma, the eye that can see and have a vision of the potential for freedom, or can see freedom, can see the peace and the freedom of the mind that's there to some degree, and then has a vision for it becoming complete, a vision of it expanding, a vision of it touching the places where we're not yet free. And this idea of becoming a visionary, using the imagination to know a possibility that it's not a fantasy, it's based on something real, but it's imagining the fulfillment of that. So for example, if I hold my hand in a tight fist, I could release one finger and hold all the other fingers tight. And then, I think, it's possible now. I have a vision. I see the potential of opening the whole hand up and relaxing it. And so it's a kind of an imagination, a vision of a potential. And it's said sometimes in Buddhism that awakening is an act of vision, a seeing, or it awakens vision. It awakens the imagination of something that's possible that then becomes the direction we go, or what we kind of wholeheartedly put our life energy into. Like, this is important, this is valuable to live this way. And it doesn't mean we have to leave our world behind, the regular world behind, but rather, with a clear enough vision of the potential of what awakening is, this freedom of clinging is, we realize that it can be the foundation for how we live our life, or the all-encompassing container or approach for everything we do. So it isn't so much that we have to leave our life, but it's to vision that it's possible to live our life freely, and to wholeheartedly enter our life with that as a guiding principle. And this is a radical thing. And so it's not a compromising our life necessarily, but it's bringing what's best in life, freedom and peace and compassion, as the container, as the context, as the foundation. So a vision that that's possible, and then a decision, even a commitment, a vow, this is how I want to live my life. So all these things I've been talking about this week have to do with imagination, and imagination can be both harmful, can be debilitating, and it could be forward-leading, opening. It can help us grow and develop. And to be able to see those two apart is very important. A few things about the word that the Buddha used, words he used that I'm translating as imagination. One of them is manyati, and that is usually used for acts of imagination which are not helpful. In fact, Bhikkhu Bodhi, the great translator, sometimes translates this word as misconceive. There's no negative prefix in the word, but it's used in such a kind of negative way in the suttas that it's often, can be to misimagine or poor imagination. And so a jackal, the Buddha used the word for a jackal that imagines itself to be a lion. And so, it's a misconceives oneself as a lion. So one of the very interesting places where this word, one imagines, where it has negative connotations, is manyati, it has to do with identification. And there's plenty of places in the sutras where Buddha emphatically talks about the problems people have when they imagine, and they imagine an identity for themselves that they are something in relationship to other things. So imagining that they are the same as the universe, or the same as the world, imagining that they are in the world, imagining the world is in them, imagining that they are distinct from the world. And he uses this word manyati, imagine, and if you really understand that, and it's often translated as conceive, which has some idea, doesn't quite capture the idea of imagination. And so rather than talking about the self and identity, that who I am, I'm this, I'm that, as a belief, which gets into philosophy and all that, the Buddha is using the word imagine. And so it's not a philosophical issue, but it's an issue of what we're doing with our imagination. What are we constructing? What are we fantasizing about? And many of the problems around self are not about truly exactly what we are as a self, whatever that is, but rather how we imagine ourselves to be. And then we have a whole different understanding of this kind of not self-teaching. There's for example, there's a very common phrase, important to me, myself, and mine, that's used in the suttas. There's a little bit of mistranslation, the order of it, but basically the same. and imagining that something is mine, imagining that I have an identity, imagining there is an essential self. The Buddha uses the word imagine. It doesn't say one believes in me, myself, and mine, but one is something that we're construing, we're constructing, we're imagining happening. And so part of meditation practice then is to quiet and calm this excessive over-imagination, false imagination, misconstruing we do. And it's not questioning or challenging any kind of philosophical view of self, me, myself, and mine in these particular teachings. And so we don't have to get involved philosophically, is there not a self? Where we get involved in meditation practice is to clarify, let go of, quiet the imaginings that are operating. And so that's kind of manyati, this imagining is usually negative. The word that's more positive for imagination is has the word anupassati in it. And that's one of the central words for mindfulness practice. It means in mindfulness practice to observe, to see. And it has the prefix sam in front of it, so sam anupassati. And the context in which it's used in the Buddhas is we can understand it to be imagination of maybe of the form of visualization. So the similes of the hindrances free of the hindrances I talked about a few days ago, the Buddha says visualizing oneself as no longer sick. Visualizing oneself as no longer in debt. Visualizing self when no longer enslaved. And so that visualizing has a kind of richer feeling sometimes than imagination. And it touches into something deeper. It touches into something more emotional, more embodied, more tangible maybe in the mind's eye. It kind of helps us to fill out something. And that is, I think, one of the functions of, two functions of this imagination or visualization the Buddha talks about, uses in practice. One is to give us a visceral, kind of embodied maybe, feeling or sense of what he's talking about. That's not just explanations. It's more like poetry or something that's evocative. And something that opens up and touches into more dimensions of our life than just words. It touches into our emotional being, our kinesthetic being. Some of the imagery are in action and movement, flowing water, and the person working the lathe or kneading the water into the powder. And also it touches into memory and associations we have with these things, and our capacity for imagination, our capacity for thought and thinking. And so we have here this movement support in imagination, this movement of becoming unified, which means gathering together all our different functions as human being so that we're focused and present here for the practice of meditation. We're not fragmented, we're not divided, and we're not leaving any part of ourselves out. We're rather gathering together all of ourselves to center and be here. And that we'll see will continue now with the steps of Anapanasati on Monday, going on with steps 7 and 8. And this continues this process of gathering together and settling and unifying. And we're supporting also the process of also, once the imagination has functioned in a useful way, to help that to settle as well. Not to hold on to that, but to go to deeper states of unification and calm, that at some point the imagination is no longer supportive for. So we'll start going into more deeply into the mind next week, and then we will go on from there. And so thank you very, very much, and Someone asked yesterday, I saw in the chat at the end, that they wanted to see the written form of the similes for jhanas, and I said I would do it, and I still will do at some point. And also, I can also maybe post my translation of this 16 steps that we're going through. And once I posted it, I'll let you know where it is, and hopefully I'll have time to do it over the weekend. So thank you all very much, and look forward to our next time together.